Hi, I'm Rebecca Hubbard, and I'm an Eden educator. I love teaching and writing for the Eden Alternative, and I'm so grateful to be here with you today. So like others before me, I want to start by recognizing and acknowledging how hard this time is for every single one of us, especially if you're living in a country that does not contain the virus. Feelings of loss and suffering are universal and persistent. And this may be hard for us to accept, especially those of us who work in healthcare and pride ourselves in our ability to handle a crisis. I mean, 5 months into this with no end in sight, that crisis mode of stress and uncertainty has become chronic. And I cringe when I hear people call this the new normal, because how do you cope when the new normal is itself indefinite uncertainty? And that's what I want to talk to you about today. How do we live and even thrive with all this uncertainty and fight the plague of helplessness that comes with it? So within the Eden Alternative, we often talk about helplessness related to care, when you only receive and don't have the opportunity to give care. But it's important to acknowledge that helplessness can be far bigger than that, more existential, if you will. And this crisis, unfortunately, has shown us the true depth and breadth of what helplessness can feel like. And at its core is that profound and persistent uncertainty. Like loneliness, uncertainty robs us of connection. Like boredom, uncertainty robs us of joy. Uncertainty diminishes every one of the 7 domains of well-being. Now, Cheryl touched on a huge piece of this when she talked about how our sense of control and autonomy has been affected by the uncertainty of these times. And many of us have been grappling with uncertainty since long before COVID. I was in college when 9/11 happened, and like many others, I was thrown into that existential helplessness, security gone and uncertainty reigning. In fact, I ended up studying philosophy and comparative religion to help try to make sense of it all. And I wrote my senior thesis on living with uncertainty. So, as I prepared for today, I considered breaking out my old thesis. I thought about unearthing my Buddhist texts and talking about how uncertainty is impermanence and impermanence is suffering, but trying to find the time and frame of mind to ponder existential philosophy in the middle of a pandemic while managing 3 kids at home, one of whom is a feral toddler, let's just say I was completely overwhelmed. And I have a feeling that I may not be the only one who's been experiencing this. So I just want to take a second to acknowledge those of you with kids and grandkids. I see you. I get it. I know that, like me, you're probably just trying to make it through the day without running away screaming. So how do you do it? Well, for anyone working from home with children, you'll understand and hopefully not judge me when I say there's been some epic and unprecedented screen time. And ironically, it was because of this epic and unprecedented screen time that I found the heart of what I want to share today. A simple, impactful way to cope with our new normal of uncertainty. So spoiler alert, if you haven't seen Frozen 2, I may be giving a couple things away. Now, you may have heard the most famous song in the movie, Into the Unknown. Well, in true 2020 style, going into the unknown doesn't go so well for Elsa in the beginning of the movie, and her sister Anna is left with the loss of everything she has known, facing a future of complete uncertainty. And in true Disney musical fashion, she expresses her feelings in a song. And that song is what made me sit up, listen, and make my kids rewind it, because it felt so appropriate to this time and place. Let me share a few of the lyrics. I've seen dark before, but not like this. This is cold. This is empty. This is numb. This grief has a gravity. It pulls me down. But a tiny voice whispers in my mind, you are lost, hope is gone, but you must go on and do the next right thing. I won't look too far ahead. It's too much for me to take, but break it down to this next breath, this next step, this next choice is one that I can make. So I'll walk through this night, stumbling blindly toward the light, and do the next right thing. Doing the next right thing. That's how you live with uncertainty. Uncertainty is suffering because it takes away our ability to plan, control, and manage. By doing just the next right thing, We can take control in the moment and then the next. So how do you do the next right thing? It's actually in the song. The first step is radical acceptance. Acknowledge that this is hard and dark. Acknowledge the grief. And acceptance doesn't mean giving up. It means you're not fighting the reality of uncertainty, which is something you can't control, and instead are freeing up that energy to use elsewhere with something you can control. And don't look too far ahead. Look to the very next thing. That may mean picking the easiest, smallest thing so that you can start momentum in a positive direction, or it may mean addressing the most urgent need, even if that's a big undertaking. And if you need inspiration, I looked back over the Eden moments that have been shared, and I was astounded to discover that these Eden moments are, in essence, a collection of people sharing exactly how they've done the next right thing. For example, the next right thing may be taking 5 minutes to do a relaxation exercise like Evie and Hope and Sandy taught us. Or it may be as big as taking on a new approach to infection control and completing a milestone like Shalom Park. It may be a matter of using common sense like Joan mentioned. Or it may be reaching out to others to share your unique skills, like Sally described in Australia and New Zealand, and like Walter and David are doing in Spain. There are so many examples, and I wish I had time to name all of them. Like the photographer DeWitt Jones says in that everyday creativity video from Associate Training, there's more than one right answer. We just have to put ourselves in the place of most opportunity. And I would add, like Jessica talked about in her Eden moment, we have to have courage. Now, the amazing thing about being part of the Eden Alternative is that we are all here in that place of opportunity, and we have amazing people to give us courage. So if you're unsure what the next right thing is, there's an answer in the Eden community. You have the tools and the knowledge, especially if you look to the principles and the domains of well-being. And if you need more help, there's a wealth of resources, whether it's reviewing the next step on the path to mastery or reaching out to a guide or taking a virtual class, even watching another Eden moment. Or best of all, ask an elder. We may be going into the unknown, but unlike Anna in the movie, we are not going alone. We have all the inspiration we need in the incredible life experiences of the people who surround us. By drawing on the strength and wisdom of our elders and our Eden community, we can do the next right thing, not just once, but over and over again. So while we can't control uncertainty, we will be able to live with it and maybe even thrive. And if all else fails, take a lesson from the original Frozen movie and just let it go. So thank you so much for your time, and I wish you all amazing next steps.